Hello and welcome to another exciting episode following me, Almost Immortal, as I play all the mods 9 to the sky. In between this video and the last, I ended up getting a pulsating black hole just to see if my autocraft would work, which requires all of these 5 times and 1 6 times items. That's a 5 times oak log, block of iron, dirt, gold, redstone, obsidian, gravel and sand, and 1 6 times cobblestone. Takes a lot of items, and I actually ran out of gold, so I've had to improve my gold output using the phytogenic insulators. I've also been trying to get the Kleinstar Omegas that we need. I've got 5 of them crafting now, because if I try and craft more, it seems to break it a little. I'm not sure if it's because I don't have enough resources, if my laptop's a little bit rubbish, or what. But yeah, a few at a time. The same thing happened with the pulsating black hole. I've got 6 of them for the time being. And I will slowly make more as and when we get more gold. So I'm just going to have to keep this running for a while. But the problem I've been facing is if I leave it running for too long, it seems to crash and stops providing resources. I clearly need an upgrade. We need 18 of each of the Kleinstar Omega and of the pulsating black hole, and I've currently only got 2 Kleinstar Omegas, so when these are done I should have 7, and then I'll probably get another 5 running. Today though, I'd like to cross off some of the other quests that we're going to need to get all the star items. I thought it would be good to start with Ender IO, because we need that to be able to summon the Piglich, which is what we need for the Piglich Heart block, which we need for the Dragon Soul. I'd also like to look at Draconic Evolution so that we can get the main items that we need to finish these off. Once those are done, the only thing left over should be RF tools, and that shouldn't take long at all to do. Ender IO is not a difficult one, and all we really need is the Sentient Ender and the Vibrant Capacitor Bank. A lot of this will come from auto-crafting and also from creating essence to be able to make more of the alloys that it uses. Draconic Evolution, though, is going to take quite a bit longer because we need to go through each of the steps to get to Draconic Tier, and we'll also need to face off against the Chaos Guardian to be able to get up to the Chaotic Tier. Let's jump right in. First thing we want to do in Ender IO is make Vibrant Alloy. We're going to do that with a primitive alloy smelter, and then I'll make the seeds using Mystical Agriculture, which requires 4 1-times blocks of it, and then we should have a near infinite supply. There is also something else we need using the primitive alloy for Ender IO, and that's a Solarium ingot. So I'm going to set both of these up with their own alloy smelter and try and get enough to be able to make 4 1-times blocks for each. Since we've got a network up here, I'm just going to use this area to get it started. Now, one way to speed this up is to use an alloy smelter instead of a primitive alloy smelter. You don't need to put any fuel source in there as it uses power, but to make that, we need dark steel ingots. Dark steel is not a difficult one to get. We only need coal dust, iron, and obsidian. So I will set that going first. Just get it hooked up like that. And they're already starting. Now it only takes 2 of the dark steel ingots to get one of these alloy smelters. So I'm just going to make one now to try and speed up our production to begin with. I'll also make a capacitor so that it can work faster. We're going to need one of these capacitors anyway when it comes to the star quests. So I'll just go make an autocraft for that. I've given it a double layer capacitor here, and that's going much faster than the other one was. I've given it power as well, so this will just move along nicely, and I'll slowly start to get enough dark steel to make 2 more to be able to get the other 2 alloys going, which didn't take long at all. There we go, Solarium ingot being made, and Vibrant alloy being made, as well as dark steel ingots. I can just leave these running now, and I'll come back once there's enough for me to make the seeds for them all. While they process in the background, I'll move on to the Slice and Splice to be able to make a Ender resonator which is what we need for a sentient ender. I made the slice and splice, and I've also upgraded the capacitors in all the machines to octadic, which has a base modifier of 3 instead of the 2 we had before. Before we can move on to get the sentient ender, we need enderman heads. But to get those, we need this here, the ender. And we need to kill enderman with it. So we're going to have a quick detour to the end. I'm pretty sure you just kill enderman and you get one occasionally. I managed to get 18 of the enderman heads after murdering an astonishing amount of enderman, which means we can start making the ender resonators. The slice and splice is just there ready. All we should need is an axe, some shears, 2 of those, 2 silicon, the ender head in the middle there, and the vibrant alloy. And that's our first one. Perfect. Now, we just need to turn those into sentient enders. All we need is a soul binder and some soul vials that we'll fill with witches. To make the soul binder, though, we're going to need a Z-Logic controller. We'll also need one of these to make the Franken-zombie, which we will need to summon the piglich. So I'm going to make 2 of these. Very easy. Similar recipe as before, except we place the enderman head for a zombie head, and instead of vibrant alloy, it's redstone. There we are, got a couple of those. And then the last thing we need for this is the soul vial filled with a witch. I've got a witch spawner here from before when we did blood magic. I'm just going to make a little area for it to go in, and then we can just collect them. Pop the spawner in there, cover it up, and then we wait for a witch. Once we have a witch, you just right click on it, and then it fills it up for you. Filled soul vial witch. Here's my soul binder, which also needs a capacitor. I'll just take it out of the other one. Give it a bit of power. And then we'll give it the ender resonator and a filled soul vial. We'll also need to give it some levels. The easiest way to give it XP is just to pop the XP drain singularity next to it and put a fluid pipe there. Stand on this and watch it increase. And there's our sentient ender. It only needs 4 levels, so we've probably got way more than we need in there. As it turns out, we did not have way more than we needed in there. And that's 18 sentient enders. That was nice and quick to get through Ender IO. The next thing I'd like to do is summon a piglich. First, I need a filled soul vial from a zombie. We can use exactly the same setup as we did for the witch here, and just pop a zombie spawn egg in there. Nice and easy. This time it's the Z-Logic controller and fill soul vial with zombie. And that makes the Franken zombie that we need to summon the piglich. I'll just use one of these summoning altars over here. And all we need is a treasure core from Forcecraft, 1 red matter, and 3 unobtainium ingots. And also the Franken zombie to finish it. I'm also going to try and yoink it and pop it in one of these jars so that I can put it in my farm over here. That would be a lot easier than having to kill it several times. So let's see if we can contain this thing. Brilliant. Huzzah! It worked! So if I just leave the piglich here in this, it will slowly accumulate hearts for me. We only need 9 for the block, but we do need 18 of them. So we're going to need a few stacks. I'll leave that going, and then in the meantime, we can move on to Draconic Evolution. The first thing I'd like to do is make sure I've got a continual supply of these draconium ingots. So I'm just going to make the seed. Should have probably done this sooner, but the farm moves fast enough that it won't really matter. Now that we've got a steady supply of draconium coming in, we need to make some of these draconium cores. These are going to be used to make a lot of the items in Draconic Evolution, including the fusion crafting core and the fusion crafting injectors that we need. So we need one of these cores, and then I believe we need 10 of these injectors. I'm just going to set this up over here like this, and then I'm going to pop the injectors that we've got here a couple of spaces away from it. Just like that. And they go in that sort of pattern. Nice and easy. Then we just need to provide them with some sort of power. And then we can use this to perform fusion crafting. If we look at the Draconic Evolution quests, we've already done a little bit of this coming down. The first tier is the basic tier, which is what we've got at the moment, and we can use that to make the next tier's injector, which is these here. All we need is some diamonds, a couple of these draconium cores, a wyvern core, and a draconium block. So all we need to do is take one of these at a time, just like that. So it wasn't working, and it might be because this is supposed to be a block above the ground. All you do, come in here, click move items, and then click craft. It'll charge using the power we've given it, and it'll turn it into a wyvern version. And that's one. Takes a while, but I'll slowly work through that and get both of these sides upgraded to wyvern. And this is what it looks like when all of those are done. And if we look at the quests, we can now start to make some of the better items. One thing in particular we want is the wyvern chestplate, which we will upgrade to Draconic. And eventually, when we face the Chaos Guardian, we can get the chaotic version. This thing acts as like a shield. It can go in your chest slot, but it can also go in, I think, your curio slot. And you can add these modules to it, which allows you to store power, have a big shield on it, stop you dying, give you more health, stop damage, and quite a few other things. And it's pretty much the only thing I know of that's going to stop us from dying to the Chaos Guardian immediately. We can also get a few cool items, like the bow, which is quite a good bow. All of these items can take modules just the same, and instead of arrows, it uses power. These items can all be upgraded to take off quite a lot of damage. What we're aiming for, though, is to upgrade to the Draconic Tier. And these need this, the Awakened Draconium Block. And to get that, we need to use the Fusion Crafter to turn Draconium blocks into the Awakened Draconium blocks. And we'll also need Dragon Hearts for that. Fortunately, we already had 2 of the Dragon Hearts, so we can use that to make our very first Awakened Draconium block. And because the Fusion Craft gives us 4 of the blocks, we can then turn one of the blocks into ingots and use 4 of those to be able to get the seed. And that's done. Now to make the seed. There's the seed. And to avoid getting the crux, we'll just pop it in one of the phytogenic insulators. There we go. Essence is feeding in, turning into nuggets, which, because they're in drawers, will turn into both ingots and blocks. Now, while those build up, it's a good time to get a couple of the tools that we could use, such as the bow and the chestplate. Starting with the bow, we need 1 draconium core, 2 of these energy relay crystals, 2 draconium ingots, and an energy controller, as well as a bow. All items that are easy enough to get, especially with the resources we've got at the moment. That's the wyvern bow, and now just the chestpiece, which is 2 draconium ingots, 1 draconium core, 1 of the energy controllers, and 2 of the energy relay crystals with the diamond chestplate as the input item. And there we are. We can upgrade these soon. into the Draconic versions. And that's once we've upgraded our injectors to Draconic Fusion injectors. Before that, though, because I'm getting annoyed with the phantoms that keep attacking, I'm going to make it perpetually daytime. So to keep it perpetually daytime, we need these, a Celestial Manipulator. This one is going to work to make sure night never happens, and this one will make sure that the rain never happens. If we go in here and we set it to time, sunrise, configure redstone, sunrise, and then give it a redstone signal to a daylight detector, we have to set that to power 0, so it's detecting nighttime, and if that happens, it triggers this to then switch back to daytime. This one's much the same, except this, we've got weather, clear skies, and in the configuration, we want to set it here to clear skies. So now if rain happens, that'll detect it, and we'll test that by using this function here, toggle rain. We'll see if it works. Sometimes takes a minute to kick in. There we go. What that's doing is swapping it back to the next morning so that it can clear the current weather. So now, anytime night or rain happens, we'll skip straight back to morning, clearing off any of those terrible phantoms and any thunderstorms as well. Nice and easy. Next, we'll upgrade our fusion crafting injectors to Draconic. I did just notice, though, that to get the chaotic core that we're going to need for one of the star ingredients, we actually need 6 of the injectors on either side. So I'm going to have to create a couple more, as we've only got 5 on either side. So now I'm going to upgrade all of these to the Draconic version, which is just going to need 1 of the Awakened Draconian blocks, some diamond, and a couple of Wyvern core. Next, we can upgrade the Wyvern bow and the Wyvern chestplate to the Draconic versions, now that we have the Draconic Fusion Crafters. First we'll do the bow, and then we'll do the chestpiece. We did need a Draconic energy controller to do this, which isn't a difficult craft, again, with the items that we're making. Now that is the easy parts over and done with, because to get any higher, up to chaotic, we need chaos fragments. And we can only get those from the Chaos Guardian, which is like the Ender Dragon, but bigger, scarier, and can kill you in one hit. Before we can face the Chaos Guardian, we need to upgrade our Draconic bow and our Draconic chestpiece with all of these fun modules that come from Draconic Evolution to make our bow hit harder and to make our chestpiece absorb more damage. To get the modules, the easiest way is just to set up some on-demand crafting for them, because most of them just require a craft. I'll do that, set them up in the network, and make it easy to grab the ones we need. But I'll also want one of these, an advanced dislocator, which is like a little teleporter. First we need the dislocator, and then we just pop it in here with those ingredients. This, I believe, just eats ender pearls to be able to teleport you out of the way, similar to how an ender pearl does when you throw it. But you can also set a specific location to teleport to. This is going to be useful for when the Chaos Guardian starts firing its death beam at us. If you right click on it there, you can add fuel. If I click all, it adds all the ender pearls we had in our inventory. So if I just add a few more, a few stacks. And there we go. And then you can set the mode to either teleport or blink. And blink just does that. Now the reason we want this is because the Chaos Guardian disables flight while you're fighting it, which means you're more susceptible to its attacks. This will just mean we can get out of the way. We can also use this to teleport to specific places. So I'll set one here. If you shift and right click, add new, that's this location. We'll name that home. We change that to teleport, and then bugger off over here. It teleports us back. As you can see, I've set up some of the modules with on-demand crafting. If we press C, I'm not sure if I set this up as a button beforehand or if it was already there, but it will open up the module screen for our items. There's the Draconic Chestpiece, which I've popped in some of the large shield capacity modules. I've also popped in some of the energy modules, some of the recovery modules, and one shield control module, which you need for your shields to work. The large capacity modules are basically just 5 of the normal shield modules, and I've put plenty of them in so that when I do get attacked, I'll defend against it. The energy modules allow it to have more power. It increases the transfer rate as well as the capacity, and we need the power so that we can hold the shield up as well as recover the shield faster. And the recovery module allows the shield to recharge quicker. I can put more in here. I do have some space, and I'm either going to put speed modules in here, which will make me faster, or I'm going to put another one of these shields in just to improve the amount of shield we've got. Where the bow is concerned, I've got several energy modules just to make sure it's got power, and I've got the projectile accuracy modules, making it more accurate for me. I've also got an auto fire module so that when I fire, I don't have to keep tapping. It'll just continue to shoot. I would like to add some speed modules in here, which increases my fire rate, and I'd also like to add some velocity modules in, which will make the arrows fly faster. And I might even add in a couple of the anti-gravity modules, which stop it from falling to the floor as quick. At the moment, I'm just waiting for some of the potions to finish, which is what I need as part of the craft to finish them off. Another thing I've made is this here, a Red Katar. It's got a cool little ability where it can do a powerful attack. In fact, here's a good way to show you. If I press C, they all die. It's like a big explosion, and it just attacks everything around you. This weapon will be good to deal with the withers, which the Chaos Guardian releases during one of its attacks. What I'd like to do next is make one of these, a Draconic Staff of Power. But that needs the Draconic Pickaxe, Draconic Shovel, and Draconic Sword. So I'm just going to make each one of these components, all using the Fusion Crafter. As you can see, I have made the Draconic Staff of Power. I've also given it a looting enchantment. I've also enchanted the Draconic Bow to make sure that's got Endless Quiver and a few other things. I have also added lots of modules onto these, mostly damage when it comes to the Staff of Power. And I've also added the Auto Fire module, a few speed modules, some damage modules, projectile velocity modules, and one gravity compensation module to my bow. And then finally, for my chest plate, I've finished this with just plenty of shields, some recovery, some energy, and a couple of speed to make me move faster. Now, one thing I've been doing while I've been playing All the Mods 9 to the Sky is my backpack has been used as a storage solution for all of my Apotheosis gem type items. Any gems, any equipment with a socket, anything like that, I've just been throwing in here instead of getting rid of. And that's because I knew at some point I'd have to face the Chaos Guardian, and it's a real bother. And it's really good to have as many gems and as many socketed items as I can to break down so that I can add those to my bow and also to my chest piece so that we can increase things like velocity on the bow, and health on the Chestpiece, and any other thing we can do. What I'd like to do, though, is improve the amount of Apotheosis items we can get. For example, Warlord gems increase your max health on chest plates, attack damage on helmets, critical damage on ranged weapons, and critical damage on heavy weapons. Ender Surge increases all existing enchantments, which can make it so that your current enchantments are super OP. And Tyrannical gems can add a percentage of the mob's current HP as damage, which means that when you hit them with something like an axe, it takes off an absolutely absurd amount of damage. So what I've done, because I know that Endermen tend to have lots of drop rates when it comes to the gems, is I've made this little area here in the end. It's just a walled enclosure with 4 spawners and these vector plates pushing them over the edge, and then they come down here. And this is also a good place to show off the Red Katar's ability. If I use it now, it kills them all. And then my inventory ends up filling up with these gems. So what I do is shove it in my backpack, wait for it to fill up, and do it again. And then just for ease, I've been popping the ability totems just in there out of the way. Once I've got a good amount of gems to break down and combine, I'll add those to my equipment. I'll show you how I do it. And we'll face off against the Chaos Guardian. I've been Enderman murdering away, and I've got a backpack almost full of gems. As you can see, I've got plenty of each of them, at least the ones that I could find, and I've got some equipment to break down as well. I'm thinking things like the lightning gem, which adds arrow velocity, which I'm going to put on my bow. Same with the gems of combatant for arrow damage, gem of samurai for arrow velocity, and slipstream gems for draw speed. We're going to need 2 different types of tables. These 2. The gem cutting table is used to increase the rarity of our gems, and the salvaging table is used to break down the ones we don't want. So anything like these, all of the equipment that we've got here that's just got a socket that we aren't going to wear, will break all these down into dust, which we can then use to improve our items that we add sockets to. Let me show you. So if we pop items in there that have all got a gem, and we click salvage, it gives us these. Different rarity based on the different rarity of items we've popped in. I'm going to break down all the ones that have got a socket, and then we'll look at what we've got left over. There are also a couple of gems we don't really care about, like fire damage, gravity, and step height, which are these solar ones. So we'll salvage those for gem dust. And also lunar gem for swim speed, gravity, and cold damage that probably not going to use. Next, we want to add the sigil of socketing to each of our items that we want to add a socket to. You can have up to 3 sockets on each item. I'm going to add them to all of my armor. And I'm also going to add it to the Draconic Chestpiece. And then finally, to both the Staff of Power and the bow. And then I also decided to add them to the Red Katar, just to see what we can add. Now I just want to upgrade my gems. The first one I'm going to try and upgrade is the lightning gem for more arrow velocity, because we've got a flawless one there. Let's see if we can get 2. The items you need are usually gem dust, and then one of these criteria on the left. So this one wants 7 gem dust, an extra lightning gem to fuse it with, and then either 1 God-Forged Pearl, 3 Arcane Sands, or 9 Luminous Crystal Shards. Since I've got quite a few of the Crystal Shards for now, I thought I'd use those. There's a Flawless, and then we'll try it again with the Flawless to see what happens. And that's a perfect. And then I'll show you how we socket that. So you just pop the bow in there, pop the perfect gem in there, and it adds 55% arrow velocity. There we go. I've upgraded them with whatever I could find in my gems and ended up with armour, armour toughness, knockback resistance, arrow velocity, ignore magic damage and heal, 10% to all stats, physical damage reduce, extra health, an extra level to all of my existing enchantments, and extra speed. I've also added some to the Draconic Chestpiece, which are the same ones as my chest plate, and I found that it doesn't actually add them on if it's in the slot in here. That's fine. Oh well, at least we've still got the shield. Now I think we're ready to seek out the Chaos Guardian and see if we can survive. Once we beat the Chaos Guardian, we should be able to mine underneath where it was to find a Chaos Shard, which we can then mine, and we should get 5 Chaos Shards. We'll also get another 3 from the quest reward for finding it, and we'll be able to use those, one of them to be able to make the Chaos Bee, and also one of them to be able to use for flowering for the Chaos Bee. And the Chaos Bees will give us Chaos Combs, which we can then use to get more Chaos Fragments. So once we beat the Chaos Guardian once, we should not have to face it again. And then I can just leave it running, we'll get plenty of Chaos Fragments, and then we can use those to be able to get the Chaotic Core that we need, and also the Chaotic Energy Controller. I think once we do beat it, we'll only have 1 or 2 more videos to clean up and to get the All the Mods star. And then we'll also get the Starry Bee and make an infinite production of the stars, just to finish off. I think this is a good place to end this episode. We've done plenty. We've got Draconic Evolution started, got plenty of the OP items, got Apotheosis gems equipped to all of our equipment. We've got so much health, as well as a really good shield from Draconic Evolution. And I think we're about there. Join me next time, where we'll fight off against the Chaos Guardian. Hopefully not die too many times. And then we'll be so very close to the All the Mods star. If you've made it this far, I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see you next time. Goodbye for now.